everybody, and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, hi, my name is Zeph, and today I will be working with my horse Shrimp. If you are unfamiliar with Shrimp and his brother Skillet, you can look back at my channel, you'll see a video on them explaining everything about them. So without further ado, let's get into it. I would like to preface this video with the fact that I actually haven't done a lot of work with Shrimp, and he's mostly been focused on his recovery from equine strangles, him being super underweight and emaciated, and also terrified of people. So this is his third session in the round pen and fourth session with the halter. And today we're just focusing on putting his nose in the halter, touching the halter, and being touched. Because despite owning this horse for a year and a half, I've not actually been able to pet him yet. And you might be thinking, but I've already haltered Skillet, which is very true, but Shrimp had some underlying issues that needed to be addressed first. Because one of the side effects of him being so emaciated and food insecure was aggression, and that was a problem. So towards the end of fall last year, I decided to take a step back from his training and just focus on him seeing me every day, getting food every day, and just building more of that relationship and established pattern. And essentially giving more time for his nervous system to regulate, which seems to have worked out fantastically, I will say. And I know that there's probably a lot of traditional trainers who are gonna say, oh, well, why didn't you just round pen him and rope him and do this and do that? Because yeah, I could have started this horse within like 3 days if I wanted to, but I would also be then spending years down the line fixing the problems of doing that. And unfortunately, one of the things I have learned the hard way with horses is that taking the long route is actually the shortest way to get to where you're going. He also went through a massive growth spurt over the winter at possibly the most inconvenient time, when everything was literally frozen and freezing cold out. But I swear he must have grown at least like a good 3 inches, which I'm very happy with because I thought for sure he was going to be like 14 hands forever. And for a draft cross, that's a bit embarrassing. Now you'll probably have noticed that I'm not wearing a treat pouch or a food pouch on me, and that is because this twisting and turning and bending over and movement that I'm doing is actually part of me desensitizing him to the fact that I'm gonna move around. So I've integrated that into my shaping plan to shape the behaviors that I'm looking for. Especially since he was so touch adverse at first, I'm looking to start getting him to target my hand and accept touch. And one of the really interesting differences between Shrimp and Skillet is Shrimp actually needs a lot less time to process things than Skillet does. Skillet tends to take at least 30 seconds to process something, whereas Shrimp will do the same kind of processing in like 15 seconds or so. And what I mean by that is the length of time between the behavior being performed, me reinforcing the behavior, him eating his snack, and then initiating the sequence over again. Because when you're using positive reinforcement and force-free techniques to start horses, a lot of the behaviors the horses are giving are behaviors the horses are offering you by their own choice and initiation. Especially since my main goal with both of these horses is to start them completely at liberty and without the use of tools or restraint or force. Which may sound kind of delusional, but I'm living in my delusional girl era, so let me just vibe with it. One of the perks of recording this whole process is the fact that I'm getting his first real pet on camera, which I like to think is pretty cool for a horse that used to try to bite me if I touched him sometimes. And one of the more interesting things within these clips, you can definitely tell that I am very right-handed, and he is much more used to having me approach him from the right than he is from the left. And he doesn't quite understand or know what to do when I approach him from the left. And as with any good training session, I like to stick to the 4-minute rule, which is working on one exercise for about 4 to 5 minutes at a time before switching or doing something else. And this just helps prevent drilling the horse or making the exercise boring or frustrating them, because every single time they will make a little bit of progress within that 4 minutes, and that's something that you can bring into your next exercise where you both have accomplished something and the horse is allowed to win. Now, I've intentionally left this longer clip in here so you can kind of see how we're both communicating with each other. Because for horses, everything is rooted in pattern and body language. So when he looks off to something in the distance, I look off too to see what that thing is. And you'll actually see him when he puts his attention back to me, he is asking me to reinitiate the behavior that he was giving beforehand. Because Shrimp has such a short re-engagement period, I'm actually able to keep my loops fairly small and fairly tight. And loops are just the cycle between cue, behavior, and reward. In some of these clips, you can see him kind of shove his nose towards me and towards the halter, and that is where I will re-engage with him and offer him the behavior or opportunity to perform the behavior. And he's also allowed to leave when the criteria for what I want him to do is far too high and scary or intimidating. And I always find the best response in any situation where the horse decides to leave is to do nothing and just hang out for a minute and wait for them to come back to you. Part of keeping my behavior loops very small allows me to try and create my best attempt at errorless learning, meaning that he's only learning the stuff that I want him to learn because I am only reinforcing desired behaviors. Now for my last party trick, I decided to see if I could get him to follow me and target my hand. And for this, I'm willing to take it literally one step at a time. And if you listen carefully, you can hear him munching. Since this exercise is basically completely new, I'm not expecting very much, and I'm pretty happy with what I managed to get within one session. Because within 20 minutes, I managed to get him to shove his nose into the halter, allow me to touch his face, and follow me for a few steps, which is pretty good. If you've made it to the end of this video nearly, thank you for watching. And if you would like to support me or the work that I do, you can subscribe or follow me elsewhere. Like this video or hit some other buttons. Whatever pleases the algorithm gods. Maybe even share this video with a friend. And if you have any questions for me, feel free to leave them in the comments. Bye!